Hey, good morning. Bob here. It's Sunday morning, I think it's the 18th of August, 2025. And moving along with my two new guitars, I've got the side braces all in place right now on both sides, on both guitars. And I have made the decision to put a sound port in up here on each guitar. It'll be an oval shaped hole, less than 2 inches by less than 1 inch, oval shaped. It goes right in here in this area. Well, I have to reinforce that area, and I use Brazilian rosewood. And I actually use Brazilian rosewood veneer. I used to just use Brazilian rosewood, sand it down on my sanding machine to about 1.5 millimeters. I bend it on a hot pipe back here, but I don't have my sanding machine anymore. So I have a great stash of very old Brazilian rosewood veneer, and I have I don't know, probably about 50 or 75 pieces of it. This very old stuff, okay? It's gorgeous stuff. And man, does it smell like Brazilian rosewood. It's just amazing. So, I've already made this one up. I have two guitars. This will fit, once I shape it and cut it to size, it will fit inside of here, and I will glue it to the inside of this guitar. It will get glued between this soldier right here, you can see it, and right up to the heel, right up to the inside foot, the heel block and foot, okay? And so each piece of veneer is 1/2 millimeter thick. And I'm going to glue up 3 pieces for 1.5. I've already done this one. It's all glued. This is ready to fit and glue in, okay? And the way I will do that is I will take some paper and I will make a paper pattern, okay, of the exact size that I need. I use little pieces of paper, cut them, tape them together, and when I pull the thing out, it'll be an exact pattern of the size that this has to fit into. And then I'll simply take that pattern, tape it on here, and trace it, cut it out, and then this will get glued in. I have some different clamping cauls that I use here. I've got 3 that are already curved, 3 cauls and 2 or 3 clamps, I can't remember. I haven't done it for 10 years. I went through a period from maybe 2000, I have to think back, maybe from 2000 to 2010, where I put sound ports in most of my guitars. But from 2010 on, I haven't done it that much. Probably a little bit later than that, maybe 2005 to 2010, something like that. I personally like sound ports, but it got weird because people wanted, of course they wanted a cover on it so that they could have it both ways, with and without. So I started making them with a little sliding door, which was pretty cool. But it took a lot of labor to make that little sliding door. Some makers, like Stephen Connor, uses a magnetic rosewood or whatever cap on the outside, which you can actually slide on the outside to open it up or close it, take it off altogether, whatever. These guitars pretty much are going to be from me, and I just decided, since I have 12 Desmonds in stock right now and none of them have sound ports, since this and the other one are going to probably be my last 2 guitars, unless I get crazy and decide to do another one, But, so I'm going to put sound ports in both of these. I wasn't decided until just the last couple of days. And of course I glued this one up already. This is 1.5 millimeters thick, I think. It's a little bit thicker. 1.6, probably 1.6. Okay, so one's made up. We're going to glue up the other one right now. It's not rocket science. The inside here between the kerfings is about 2 3/8 inches. It varies, it tapers of course, but it varies from maybe, let's see if I can find that. Yeah, it sort of varies. It doesn't matter which side I measure. It's about 2 3/8 to about 2.5, okay? So this stock is a little bit over 3. This stuff here, it's like 3 3/4. Let me grab another piece here. It smells incredible. 3.5. Doesn't really matter as long as it's bigger than 3, okay? And I'll take care of the rest when after it's glued up, I'll straight, smooth, and square everything. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to get this out of my way. Oops. And we'll just work here. Let me maybe zoom in a little bit. Okay, hopefully that works. It might cut the top of my head off, which wouldn't be a bad thing. Okay, so the first thing I need are 3 pieces of veneer. Each one of them is going to be a minimum of 7 inches. If you look at my form, this is wax paper that I have just taped on here. And the form is actually waxed as well. But in any event, the center line of the guitar is this top blue line right here. The line that I need, minimum line, is this bottom line. So when I glue up these veneers, I need to make sure that I don't put them below this bottom line, okay? And the waist, the piece that I need is lining up with almost the exact waist, upper bout of, not the waist, the upper bout of the guitar, the center of the upper bout. So I need 6 inches like that, and 7 inches gives me even more clearance, gives me some waist room. This is 7 now, all cleaned up. So I'll probably go 7 1/4. As is with all old Brazilian rosewood, you know, it tends to have a lot of cracks and so on. I'm going to cut that with a pair of scissors. And I'm not even going to square it up. I'm just going to measure it and mark it. Oh, and I'm going to be gluing this up with Titebond 2. Titebond 2 is great for making anything that eventually might have to be bent on the hot iron, like herringbone, little dots that go in a rosette, herringbone for the rosette, any pattern in the rosette that needs to get bent in the assembly of the rosette. I always glue it up with Titebond 2. I do not like Titebond 3, and Titebond 1 isn't going to work as well. 2 isn't waterproof, but it's water resistant. Been using it for 30 years for doing anything that I know is going to eventually be bent. This won't probably be bent, but if I have to tweak it a little bit, I might take it on the iron. Okay, so basically I'm going to draw out here. I'm going to go 7.5, which is way more than I need. I'm also going to put on my little magnifiers. These are called clip and flips. I buy them at Joann's Fabrics. I probably have about 20 pair of these. They come in different magnifications. Okay, so if these edges were square, I might put a square on it, but I don't really need to. I'm just going to cut this rosewood. Okay, and there's one piece, 7 inches long. This is kind of crappy, so I'm not going to use it. I'll put it aside. And I've got a couple of different pieces here. Let me just take a quick look. Okay, I'm going to use this one here. And there's some problems with this piece. So right off the bat, I'm going to get rid of the problem. And I'm going to put that aside. This is kind of messed up as well. And here's my 7-inch piece. Measure twice, cut once. 7.5. That's fine. Doesn't really matter. And I'm going to just make a mark. And cut it. There's 2 pieces. And my third piece, okay. Now I only have to put glue on 2 of these. That's it. So now we've got 3 pieces. And when I glue them together and I glue them into this shape with force, they will keep that shape. As evidenced by this piece right here, which you can see if I put in there, it keeps its shape perfectly, okay? All right. So the next step is to glue them together. I'm going to put the biggest one on the bottom, and this actually works out great. I'm just going to number them 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to take a glue brush. I always wet it first. Let me pull this over. I wet it and I wring it out. I like the bristles to be a little moist. Okay, this is 1. And before I start gluing it, I have a box of these blocks here. And one edge of the block is curved. And that'll be the edge that'll go down. And these are going to be what exerts the pressure. I'm going to make like a little sandwich here. Give you a little demo here. However many of these I can get in. And I'll start off with 2. And I have these offcuts of rosewood. This happens to be a double side. Mahogany on one side, rosewood on the other. This was the offcut of a guitar. And they're perfect. They're the perfect width, because if I pull these out, you'll see that this is about the same width as two of these little clamping cawls. And then I'll grab a cam clamp and I'll turn this on the side and I'll clamp the whole thing up two at a time. And also, I will use some cardboard, just some bent chip cardboard. After the glue up is in place, I'll put wax paper on top of it, like that. Then I'll put cardboard on top of it, and then I'll start putting these in two at a time. I'll start right in the center of the curve, and once I get the first one on, the rest go real easy. Okay? So I will just put these off to the side, and here we go. I don't need to sand this. It's fine. Okay? It's not rocket science. I always try to keep one hand clean. This is something I learned in photography 50 years ago when I started in photography. I learned it in the darkroom. You can get one hand wet, but don't get two hands wet in the chemicals. So in this case, my left hand is the hand that might get a little glue on it. And I'm pretty liberal here. I don't try to save glue. I also don't paint a wall or a house. It's really just a matter of putting on glue. Okay? There it is. All right? So now we're going to take this and plop a piece on it. I'm going to put it on over here. I got a little bit of glue on me. I have these wet rags over here. I'm just going to push this down lightly. And because there are pores in the wood, glue is starting to come through. That's why you need wax paper. Okay? So there it is. Now a lot of times when you put glue on veneer, it starts to curl. The veneer will start to curl immediately. And that can get, when you're making up rosette logs and so on, that can get tricky. So now the beautiful Brazilian rosewood smell has been changed to the smell of Titebond 2. Not a particularly good smell. Okay? And there's plenty of glue on there. All right, now I take the brush, I'm done with it, put it in the water, close the glue cap, wipe off the tip, and now I'll put the third piece of veneer in place. It's the thinnest of the three. And I'm just gonna push this down a little bit. It helps to keep the veneers from slipping if I work it a little bit first. Okay, so there's the glue up. Now we're going to put it in the form, and I'm going to turn it this way because this end is a little thinner. So the first thing, we're just going to kind of center it here in the form. And I'm going to make sure that it goes past the bottom blue line just a little bit. I'm just going to hold it there for a few seconds. You can see it's in there. I always have a wet rag. And by holding it in here for a few seconds, it makes me a little bit more certain that nothing is going to slip. Now I'm going to put the wax paper on top of it. Put the cardboard in. I'm done with that. Flip it over. Two blocks. This little caul grab a clamp. First one's the hardest. I'm going to do this lightly at first. Okay. Now I can check things. And that looks good there. I'm above that minimum line. Things look fine there. And things look fine here. Okay. So I'm going to tweak this a little bit because it's a little off. There we go. And I'm going to tighten this up here. Wiggle it up. Right about there. Okay. And this is how I do it. So the cardboard helps to even out the clamping pressure. Pull that up just a little bit. Okay. Two more in. Clamping caul. I think we'll get one more in. Yeah, we'll get right here. Might be able to get two there. And somewhere here, I've got some more of these. And let's see here, probably sneak one more in there. Okay. I don't like this one. Maybe I can just retighten it here. That's better. Okay. All right. Now on the bottom here, there's a little glue squeeze out. Just going to clean it up a bit. And that'll stay in overnight. Today is Sunday, so it'll give me something to do tomorrow. I think I'll just put a little piece of paper here. The veneer. I just saw on the veneer package, I bought it in 2003. I don't remember where I got it. Okay, so anyway, just want to check everything here. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Looks fine. And that's it. So that will yield, hopefully you can see that. All of that work, which isn't much, that will yield me one of these guys. Okay? And that's it. Bob signing out, and I hope you have a great Sunday. And moving right along, these will be glued in this week. Trying to get these two guitars closed up. And once these are glued in, I will draw my oval pattern on the outside of the guitar. And I don't cut it out with a saw. I actually use a Dremel tool with a little tiny Dremel bit, like a router bit, very small. And I will do it with a series of holes, and eventually once I plunge route all these little holes well inside of the outline, the rest of it I will file with a half-curved round file, half-round file, and get it to the line nice and cleanly, and then I'll round the edges inside, outside, and I'm done with it at that point. And I will have my my sound ports. They won't have any fancy doors or anything. They'll just be an open hole, but in the shape of an oval. I like the oval. It's a little more pleasing to the eye than just a round circle. I have to look at my notes. I have my notes with the technique that I used to do it all. And I can't remember all my exact measurements. But I can tell you one thing about sound ports. Less is more. That's my experience. I started out bigger and I kept making it a little bit smaller until I found the amount that I liked. I don't really care what anybody else likes. I put in there what I like, and that's kind of how I work. So my sound ports aren't huge, but they're not as big as, let's say, Stephen Connor's, just as an example. Mine are smaller, but they are oval shaped, and they are in the upper bout of the guitar on the bass side. Okay? Bob checking out. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and maybe learn a little bit something here from the old man who's losing his eyesight. But in any event, yeah, this is how I do it. Normally in the old days, I would just take a piece of rosewood, Brazilian or Indian, or if I were doing a maple guitar, it'd be a piece of maple. I would sand it on my sanding machine, my drum sander. I'd sand it down to about 1.5, and then I'd bend it on the hot pipe and then fit it the same way. I'd make a paper pattern of the inside, trace it on here, cut this out, and then glue this inside. And this is in an effort to reinforce the side, because I'm going to be cutting a big hole in it. And I don't want anything to start to crack along that big hole that I put in there. And this is why I reinforce it. My sides on these new guitars, this guy here, let me bring it back. The sides on this guitar are 2 millimeters. I went with single sides, and bring it in a little closer here. Yeah, I went with single sides, so between the 2 here and the 1.5, this upper area will end up being 3.5 millimeters, 3.6, something like that, maybe even 3.7, okay? And also, I don't have to use, even though these sides are Brazilian, I don't have to use Brazilian rosewood here. I could use any wood, really, Indian or whatever. Now, one more thing. Typically, when I would glue something like this up, I would cross the grain back and forth like plywood. So I'd go the grain this way, and then I'd flip it around and glue the grain this way, and then I'd glue the third piece this way, or I'd do it just the opposite. Because this grain is going this way, I might put the first piece like that, the second piece like that, and the third piece like that. Why didn't I do that? Because I don't have stock in the right size to do that, and to use the narrower 3 to 3.5 inch stock, where I butt jointed the veneers for the pieces that run this way, I would be running the risk that one might slip over the other, thus destroying the glue up and wasting my time. So I decided in this instance, since the likelihood of this cracking, even without this, the likelihood would be rather small, but still, this goes this way. I think this is going to be just fine. It's very sturdy. You can see it's not been bent into shape. It's just been forced into the form. And all the layers will stay where they're forced once they're glued. Okay? So yeah, this ends up going in there. Only it will fit when I glue it in. Okay? Okay, Bob signing out. Hope you had a great Saturday and continue to have a great Sunday. Peace.